So we're about to bring Mitch on. Before that, quick sponsorship message. If you want to get more customers to pay you more money more often, a lot of what Mitch is about to be talking about, we also have a sponsor, EmployeeEscapePlan.com. Mr. Joe Nicasio, he's coached people like Les Brown, worked with Jay Abraham, learned great marketing secrets. If you want to grow your business, you're a solopreneur, service provider, you want to escape your soul-sucking job, definitely give EmployeeEscapePlan.com a visit and let Joe know I sent you. Now, for the man of the hour, Mitch Miller, a.k.a. Father Freedom, is all about the ruthless attainment of freedom and truth. Mitch is the author of 4 books, has held 12 training workshops in the last year all around the world, including Bali and Mexico, where people paid $5,000 each to learn from him on various business topics. Companies pay $19,200 per day for in-person consulting, and he is an expert in business, marketing, copywriting, human psychology, and sales. Mitch, you ready to rock this?
Hell yeah, man. Let's do this.
Boom, baby, with the guitar right there. We're literally rocking this.
I was just playing like 2 seconds ago, so it's perfect. I didn't even want to put it down, but I figure it's hard to talk and play at the same time. I'm not fucking John Mayer.
You're not there yet. You will be soon. I have faith, Mitch.
Yeah.
So, dude, thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule. You're up to big things to help get this message out and really inspire people, empower people, and learn the truth about what's going on in marketing, in psychology, and making sales. Because, dude, this is a very intense world, an intense time that we're living in, and any advantage that we can get to win, to be able to deliver our services that really make a difference for people, dude, thank you for leading the charge on that, man.
Thanks, dude. I'm totally pumped for this.
Fuck yeah. Dude, let's go, babies. Okay, so before we dive in, the theme for today is cultivating that inner garden, the inner environment of our mindset, our soul, nurturing ourselves. How has that showed up for you? You're like, dude, traveling the world, kind of like a digital nomad and stuff, doing awesome stuff. So, bro, like, how have you seen that impact your life?
So I've seen it impact my life in the way that you're more rooted. So when I was younger, man, like I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't do this, couldn't do that, because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't have the skills and I wasn't that person yet. So I kind of would screw it up all the time, but I couldn't focus on one project, couldn't stick to one thing. I wasn't an entrepreneur because I was a fucking biz ops seeker. I was just seeking fortune. I wanted riches without the work. I didn't want how do I say it? I wanted the riches without digging the fucking ditches. So like, I just wanted to make the money. Yeah. And so what that meant was that because I didn't know who I wasn't rooted in what I stand for, my values, things that are actually important to me, then that means I was like all over the place and I wasn't rooted. And so the mindset, like what really helped me, man, was like truly realizing that like it's not about what I can get out of this world, it's what I can give. When you realize it's what you give, then that means that your life is about giving value to other people. And paradoxically, I realized that that's the most, if you want all these things that you want, the paradox is that you just focus on other people and then all that shit will come to you. People don't believe that who aren't there yet. They think it's some like trick that like a marketer is saying just to like, you know, whatever, justify his own stuff. But what I realized is that in really realizing that it's all about helping people, you get a strength and a rooted conviction in your confidence in who you are. Like a lot of people ask, how can I get the confidence to go out and sell this thing? It's like, man, you don't even have to have confidence in yourself. You need to have the confidence in that what you're doing for people is going to help them, and think about them. So I think a convoluted way to answer your question was literally just realizing that it's not about me.
Dude, brilliant. I love it. And, you know, what you said there is like, you know, some people think it's just a gimmick, you know, that marketers use. Oh, you know, when you focus on other people, then you can have what you want. Or Zig Ziglar says, when you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything that you want. And it's like, you know, even I know for me, it's like, okay, well, I can really, you know, focus on other people and give them what they want. But deep down inside, I know I'm still like a shady guy. And like, you know, there's these doubts, these insecurities, these thoughts that go through our head. And you just can't honor that shit, people. You cannot let that like rule you. You got to say, no, like why I'm doing this is because this is the truth. I'm a freaking great person and I really want to make this difference with people, and have that faith that that's who you really are, and like step into that way of being, that way of showing up.
Yeah, dude. People are like, how to sell without being sleazy? It's like, then don't be a sleazy person, man.
Right?
Like,
So simple. I love it, man. Cool. So that was a great start to this. We're going to dive even deeper. And before that, like, dude, take us on the journey of how you got to where you are today, living where you want to live, paying like, or getting charged like, or charging extremely high rates for what you do, and just being a master of your life, creating your reality. What challenges did you have to go through to get to where you are today?
so many that I don't remember. And a lot of times we actually block out a lot of them. So there's a lot of people who come a long way and they kind of purposely forget a lot of the hardships that they went through. Like, I talk about how I had a heart attack when I was 21 years old and I didn't finish high school. And that the heart attack was due to too many drugs or being on a rock band and only caring about a rock band. So I didn't know anything about the world, nothing. But after I had the heart attack, it wasn't even like a declaration that I wanted to be a better person. It just, it shakes you up. So like, I realized that I wanted to do more with my life, no idea what to do. So I started rummaging around for, when you start searching, then the answers appear. And so Tony Robbins like popped up somewhere. And he's probably been around all the time, but you just never see him until you actually are ready to hear what he has to say. And he was the first one to kind of bash it into my skull that you don't have to be the same person that you were. And actually makes you believe that. And you're like, oh shit. So that opens up. You're like, who can I be? It's like, wow. And then you go down the rabbit hole of self-help, business. Eventually you find marketing because you realize that that's like the master skill in today's world. If you do it with integrity and all that, like you do it the right way. But I just went down this rabbit hole of self-improvement. On one hand, like the whole like inner game of your mind and all of the belief and all that stuff. But then a second track was like business. I wanted to figure out business because I understand that like I wanted to have more money. I wanted to be free. I wanted freedom. That was the whole thing that I realized that I was rebelling against the entire time when I was younger, but I had no idea that was what it was. I just had angst. I was pissed off. I'd listen to Slipknot, Marilyn Manson. Eminem was my favorite artist, still is. He released a new album in 2 days. I can't wait.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, it's going to be so sick because, but so I was always just an angry kid and a bad kid. And I didn't know why until I started self-help and all that has you looking at yourself. And I started to realize, I don't fit into the system. And because of that, I'm being shunned by it, thinking something's wrong with me. But when in reality, it's just, I'm playing a different tune. But because I was angry about it and I didn't know, I was manifesting all the bad shit about that. Instead of just being like a strong person who wants freedom, I was being a weak person who wanted freedom. So I was lashing out at the system. It's like a child instead of, being a grown man about it and just changing my circumstance. That's right. So, I realized that I want to change. So I went up through this process of learning business, learning marketing and sales, persuasion. It's all connected. So I read, I know I hit 10,000 hours in the first 4 years because I would listen and study 16 hours a day until I couldn't do it anymore. And then I would listen to the shit when I fell asleep and just hammer it in my head. But I did this for 10 years straight, nonstop. And so one thing that I took forever to cultivate was the confidence to apply all the stuff that I learned. And that's, a lot of people get stuck in that for the rest of their lives, unfortunately. And it drives people mad. Imagine knowing the keys to the universe, but you can't put them into action. So, dude, I tried so many businesses, 8, 9 different businesses. I failed almost all of them. Like, they start really well. I could start things really well. Couldn't fucking finish things. And so, I was homeless in 2008 because I failed a business and I was had too much pride to ask my parents for help and all that. And I ended up homeless. It was only for 2 weeks, but it was like terrible. Yeah. And so it was just this process, and I just kept starting a few more businesses till the landscaping one really cracked wide open, and I got it, and I started following through, and everything was great. And then we started to post media, where we started doing marketing and campaigns and advertising campaigns for businesses, copywriting for businesses. Ended up making a lot of companies like millions of dollars and stuff, crazy shit. And then I got out of it and we changed the business to what it is today, which is being simply just helping people being able to become more free, quit their jobs, start a business of their own, be free, as in like being free from the opinions of other people, or kind of what I said earlier about being wanting freedom but not being a child about it. And actually, that's why I travel the world. That's why, I architect. You and I were talking about this before, like designing your life and architecting your life. So that's what I do now. From time to time, I do copywriting for people. I just did copywriting, my first project in over a year for a friend who's in the crypto space, and he needed to do a webinar for it. And so I wrote the script for them. And just last night, they did 200 grand in 3 hours on the webinar. And they're only, I think they're doing their sales floor is calling today, and then they're also doing a replay thing. So they might hit 400 grand when all said and done, which is incredible. And that's more joy than me making 400 grand, man.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
but that's where we're at today. Like, I'm all about just like seriously helping the everyday, because the people honestly who come into the industry, like they're already know marketing, or they already are into this down the rabbit hole of self-help and all this. They don't need the help as much. Like, they do, but they're already here. They're already at the party, so to speak.
Right.
So my passion is like going out to the masses, so to speak, and helping them understand, like I did, that you can. So I try to bring them into this world, and that's messy. That's the front lines, man. That's where you get all the hate. That's where all the crazy shit happens. So.
Dude, that's it, man. How do you what have you found works to really like indoctrinate or like wake people up to the fact that like their reality sucks and they can have a different one?
Yeah, so those the best way that I've found so far is like any type of content where it's like the system is broken, people know already. So you know what I mean? So like
pacing their current reality.
Yeah, dude. Like we have one video that we push with ads. It's the very first thing people see, and it's like, you've been lied to. The system is a scam. You get up, you wake up on your box. You look at your box. You eat out of a box. You go to the work. You work in a box. You fucking. Everything's a box, and for 40 years until you die, on your best years, and it's just stabbing them with the emotions.
Feel the pain, damn it. Take a different action.
Then after that, it's like, hey, listen, there is another way. You can be free if you want. You can start your own business. You can believe in yourself, and then so from there, once you illuminate that, then you can just push them into more applicable content stuff.
You know what I just heard, and for everyone out there listening. We live in a very soft world. A lot of people don't want to hurt people. They're walking on eggshells. There's a lot of, kind of weak-willed people in this world. Yeah. And what I heard you say right there is, dude, you know what? I have this freaking knife, and I'm going to stick it in people till they make the right choice. And I'm going to love doing it. And I hate it, but I love doing it because I know what's on the other side, and I will do whatever it takes to have people wake the fuck up. And I love that you said that, because you can fall in love with doing that with like, hey, I know this sucks. It hurts me just as much as it hurts you, but I love who you're going to become in the process, and I have the foresight to see that. And dude, we're in this together. Just don't give up. But this is going to suck. Let's get out of here.
Dude, that's exactly it, and that's why I'm. There's a lot of polarity when I do it, because I don't fuck around with that. So then people most people think I'm a dick until they get. Till it comes around, they go, oh, he actually cares. He's just not letting me off the hook,
dude.
Right? So it's the same with like wanting to lose weight or something, which I don't teach, but it's like it's the same thing. People are they're avoiding it. They're medicating with food. They're not thinking about it. So it's just a matter of like holding a mirror up and be like, you like those love handles, man? You want those? And that's it. It's like, you can hate me all you want, but like, I'm trying to help. And so,
Dude, that's awesome. So I'm sure this starts diving into these buyer psychology mindsets, the 16 secrets that you were talking about. Let's start getting into these, man. I know you got some gold that you've done like research on, and this is like proven stuff. Like copywriting is all about like the real stuff, the truth, the facts, the like, really driving home the evidence. And that's what I've seen and heard like works the best, So let's start diving in, man.
Okay, cool. So I'll caveat this by saying, those of you who don't know what copywriting is, it's selling things with words. So I mean, it's a lot of people think it's just like a sales letter on a web page where you see words, and that can be, but also this is copywriting too. Anytime you're trying to persuade people, it's an old term and it encapsulates a lot of things. But anytime you're trying to persuade people with words, and you want to carefully choose the words and carefully choose the structure in which you speak them in order to get the greatest effect, then that I would call that copywriting. So one thing, the very first thing I had to understand about copywriting is the world isn't the way I want it to be. The world is what it is. So people are driven by they're driven by forces and reasons and things. People buy and do things for reasons that aren't the most noble reasons most of the time, and they're not the reasons that we believe that they should be. And so what you don't want to do when you're trying to persuade people is put your ideals onto people and put your beliefs onto them. And so it's about ruthlessly finding out the truth, and the truth isn't always pretty. But but it's not like it's not. It's just nature. It just is what it is. You don't even want to judge it, really. So with that said, understand that in persuasion, there can be a lot of truths or tricks or things that you talk about that may seem manipulative, may seem negative, may seem bad. But here's the honest truth about this. And that's why I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. Someone was asking me, I think it was my business partner. He was like, what is the one skill a copywriter needs to have? And I was thinking about it. I think it's just clarity. Like if you have clarity on a situation, you can teach it, explain it. You can teach someone that, oh, you were just not looking at it like this. Oh, if you were more clear, you could see. So it's clarity. But the one caveat I want to make to this, and because I believe the number one reason people don't persuade well is because they're afraid to. They're afraid to really sell and do what it takes. Like, for example, if scarcity and urgency of an offer expiring is what gets the most people to buy. Right now in the marketing industry anyway, which is weird, is like people are railing against scarcity hard. They're railing against fake scarcity. And of course, nobody, you make sure it's real. But even that, people are just throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying scarcity is manipulative. And it's like, yes, it is, but you can't not be manipulative. Manipulation is, the word is a loaded word. I mean, it's neither good or bad. You can't not be manipulated, and you can't not manipulate people. It's just how we communicate. It's just persuasion. So if you have ethics, if you have morals, that's like comes back to the whole how to not be a sleazy salesman, then don't be sleazy. It's all. So I want to caveat everything I'm going to say by saying, if you don't do everything in your power to have them buy from you, because you're ethical and because you know you're going to take care of them and you have a solution that works for them, if you don't do everything that you have to do, somebody else will. And they may not have their best interests in mind. And so it's in your ethical interest to do everything that is possible to get them to buy from you, as long as you know you have something of value, because it's like you need to protect them. And so that's a huge mindset shift for people. Hopefully help them get over that. Dude. And so
gold, baby. This is gold. Going deep.
With that said, here are a few of the reasons people are persuaded to buy things that we may find a little uncomfortable. The first one is this one is a lot. So the way I look at this is something that I've never taught publicly yet. So this is kind of cool, and I will teach it very soon, but we'll start with you guys. So you guys are getting this first. When you're marketing to somebody, and you get these trainings on copywriting, you get trainings on marketing or trainings on human psychology, you need to know about who your market is. You need to know who you're talking to. If you don't know who you're talking to, you can't sell them. So a lot of the things they say is like, what's the demographic? What's their age? Are they married? What's their psychographics? That is, what podcasts do they listen to? What YouTube channels do they listen to? You want it so that you can get a picture, an image of who this person is, so you know how to best talk to them. Well, that's all well and good, and that stuff's all cool. And that stuff is good. I believe it's good from like a rapport standpoint, a trust standpoint, getting to have them feel like you know who they are and that kind of thing. But the triggers, and this is the part I never taught before, that make them actually purchase, like the actual hot button that makes them pull out their credit card, those are universal, and those apply to all people. And so I think a lot of people have trouble when they're persuading, selling, marketing, copywriting. They have trouble doing it because they don't understand the universal truths about people, and so they only have the other side, the side that they're collecting data on, but they don't get how people work in general. And so I think that if they understand these general principles, which we'll go into here in a sec, then then that's even more powerful than even knowing all the other shit about the avatar and stuff. Because I just did, like I said, that crypto thing. I don't know crypto,
Right.
and I barely knew the market, but I could still knock it out of the park because I know why people would buy crypto.
Yeah, it's a pattern. You understand patterns, and there's like this general pattern. If you say if then, like an if then statement, for example, is something that gets people into like a hypnotic rhythm or activates certain neural pathways that they're like, oh shit, I got to do something. My body's going to feel a certain way because of that. And if you know what those are, man, mastering the universe status.
Yeah, it's fun. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's like, so like, for example, one of the big triggers that gets somebody to buy something, and you got to talk about, you can't, like, most of the time you can't just like hit that really hard, but you can kind of like dance around it and apply it and stuff. But one of the biggest reasons people buy something is to prove somebody wrong. And if you can figure out who that is, like, for example, in my market, I'm trying to get people to, start businesses and online businesses and start that stuff. And one of the biggest things that there's a ton of people obviously selling this kind of stuff too. Some are amazing at it, and some are just complete fucking bullshit, and they're just scams. But it's like, what they don't understand is that, they're doing all this stuff. You can make all this money, you can do this, do that. It's like, well, a lot of the times they're doing it and the fuel of why they want to do it is because their parents think that, or their father thinks that they're an idiot for thinking that they can have their own business, or their brother is more successful than them in this mainstream corporate life, and he wants to prove to his family or everyone around him that he is just as worthy as his brother is.
Damn.
Or maybe his wife, he wants his wife to believe in him and think of him as a stud. Or maybe he wants to, here's another one, especially with the children, is he wants to make sure that he looks like he's like a good dad to his kids, and that to his kids he doesn't seem like a failure. He wants to be super dad in their eyes. And so those are the kind of things that are universal that actually get people to put out their credit card if you can accurately talk about those things and push on them.
Dude, that's awesome. It's gold. And I'm sure like the next step would be, okay, well, what is it that these people are like, who do they want to prove right, or who do they want to prove wrong, whatever it might be, right? And that comes with market research, that comes with thinking about the like target demographic. How do you identify that stuff?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. The easiest way is a kind of a cheat code, which is you say something like, and then you'll finally be able to prove that person wrong. Ooh. That person who sometimes doesn't even talk about it, but you know that they're looking with suspicious eyes all the time, and they're probably whispering behind your back. That person, right? And
conspiracy.
Then they fill in the blanks. That's the best way. Let them fill in the blanks with their own. And you can say, listen, everybody has somebody like that in their lives. So, unfortunately, some people maybe have multiple people like that in their lives. I know I have, and I can go into a personal story, and I can really twist that knife about how I felt, but it's actually also paralleling how they feel. Because the truth is that the more personal the problem, the more universal. So even in our own lives, like all the shit that we're dealing with in our own head, all our self-doubt, all our insecurities, which are all there because we're all human, it's like, the ones we think are the worst, or the ones that we think are the most personal, are actually the most universal. And if you realize that, then not only can you use that as fuel and fire for your own marketing copywriting, because you can go there and pull that out and then use that thinking it's personal, but it's actually universal. Cool. But it also will allow you to move past it because you realize it's universal, which means you'll be free to, it's not something that's, you can cling to your identity as yours. That's not yours, man. It's fucking human. So you can get rid of it and stuff.
That's powerful what you just said there. Like, our identities like to make ourselves special, our ego, right? Like, oh, that's my problem. I'm going to own it like it's mine. And if you recognize that there's other people who have that shit, and you share it, and you get clear, and you're like, share it so it doesn't have the power over you as soon as you speak it, like it stops becoming this like dark cloud over your head that only you think you have to deal with. Like, get it out, and then you'll get power around it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. It's like Buddhist stuff, like Eastern philosophy, where it's like whatever you resist persists. Yes. So it's like if you just accept it, then that opens up a space for something else to happen. But as long as you resist it, it'll stay the same. So it's like it's a form of accepting that this is a universal trait that is not shared just by you allows that space to be opened up for some other new way to think about it. It releases its hold on you or whatever the fuck.
That's freaking beautiful, man. I love this. Good. Next.
What else we got? What else we got? We got envy and jealousy are very strong motivators. Now, what's interesting is people take it one of two ways. So this is what's crazy is like, and you can't help this. You can't change people. So like, I remember I was in Canada one time, and like I used to do this, and I thought that everyone else would feel the same way until I found out that it's like divided. I don't know the division percentage or ratio, but I would go into a very expensive department store, like in the States, like Neiman Marcus would be like an example. In Canada, I think Holt Renfrew or something. But I would go into these extremely expensive department stores, and I would browse like clothing, shoes, colognes, belts, things that I couldn't afford. Like I go look at a suit that's like $5,000 on my shit. And while I was dead broke, actually when I was the brokest, I would go do that. And what it would do is provide me with fuel. It would just like, I would want it so bad. And I just like that. And I'd envy the people who had it. And I would look at examples on that of YouTube and see the pictures of them. And I would be so envious of that it drove me to work even harder like crazy. It literally provided me the fuel. And here's what's interesting is like there's a whatever percentage, whether it's half, whether it's less, whether it's whatever, are not driven by that. They're depressed by that. They see that stuff and they like, because I figured this out because I took my friend here, and he's like a dude who's like kind of he gets depressed easily, softy, kind of like a mopey guy, right? Right. This was way back in like 2004 or something. And I brought him to this department store to inspire him. Like, let's go here, dude. Cause we were in the mall already. I was like, let's go here, man. Let's check this out. And he was like, it sucked all the energy out of his body, and he just didn't want to be there anymore. He just hated it. And I was like, holy shit. I realized at that moment, he will never be successful. Wow. And I was like, holy shit, because all this examples of all this wealth and cool stuff that you can have and freedom and all that, all those examples just depressed him. Wow. Whereas it fired me up. So I was like, he could never get there because it's like literally the opposite. Like, well,
if he was it sounds like he's more motivated by pain, right? Like the pain of being stuck and miserable. Like you got to dig those knives in, not of here's what you can have, but dude, your life is shit. Like, get it together. Like, how much longer are you going to be willing to be miserable and stuck? Do you see, like, what the pain is if this keeps going for the next 5 years, 10 years? Do you want to end up 20 years from now, you know, like, or do you want to, like, people like this who are in your situation commit suicide, you know, like, whatever it takes to, like, wake them up, right? As much as it sucks to say and, like, drive those knives in, like, that's what some people need to get into action if that was your target market kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so what's cool is, like, he wasn't driven by that message didn't motivate him because also his identity, he couldn't even imagine wearing a jacket like that. Like there's no vision that he had of himself to do that. And so what I found is that there's certain markets where that envy is like in this like business, start a business like market, which includes biz off, includes get rich quick, includes investing in real estate, anything where you're trying to make more money in any whatever niche it is. I find in general, it's safe to go with the whole idea of showing off that wealth, showing off that freedom, and just triggering that envy, because that's going to drive them to buy, to want to do it. Whereas there's certain markets where they wouldn't, where people are driven, which is another one of the psychological things is like, because what it comes down to, and I learned this from Perry Belcher, is like it's like status in the tribe, right? Like, because we were small tribes of 300 around way back in the day when we were cave people running around naked, having orgies and stuff. But like, it was like when you
bring back the good old days.
Yeah, like what's going on here? Everyone wearing clothes and shit, fucking department stores. Whatever happened to wearing a banana peel on your crotch?
Right, freedom.
So it's like, because we were in these small tribes, like there's very standard hierarchy in those tribes. So it's like we're wired to compare. We're wired for status. We're wired for competition. I learned this from Will Durant. He has an incredible history of, I think it's like the story of civilization or the history of civilization. It's like a 12 encyclopedia set, but you find on YouTube on an audio, and it's the most mind-blowing thing on earth, because he talks about how we're wired for competition, we're wired for status. Status is for competition, and there's different reasons, reproductive and survival and genetic and all this type of shit. But what it comes down to is it comes down to the status over other people. Unfortunately, we can't get around it. People say, no, I believe I want the good for everybody. It's like, yeah, you do, but you still want, for example, there's this is a short runoff, but it makes perfect sense here. It's like, people say like as an organism, we're all about competition. That's why sperms compete, for God's sakes. Like, we all know it's about competition. Some of us don't want to accept that. But a lot of people say, no, it's all about collaboration. And I say, yes, collaboration is awesome. However, collaboration is just a form of group competition. A collaboration is a group of people collaborating together in order to compete on a bigger scale against other groups or something. Yeah. So it's all competition in the end. So when you realize it's all about status, well, here's the cool thing. What people believe will give them status, because there's different types of people, different groups of people are different for everybody. So whereas for me, status is like, status is money to me. Status is like power and wealth and being,
do what you want, when you want, however you want.
Yeah, there's all that. Whereas like, I know that on our team, Andrew, his status is more it's intellectual. It's if he feels he's smarter than everybody else, then that's what gives him status. And so, for example, you can guess based on that, the intellectual, you can guess based on that which car we want. Like, I want a Rolls Royce, and you can guess that Andrew wants a Tesla.
Yep.
Because that's the smart thing. And so Tesla's going to give him status, and it will for people who think like him. It will, because people who are like him, I roll up to a group of Tesla people, and I have my Rolls Royce, and they go, Jesus, dude, are you insane? That thing just kills so much gas. It's not efficient. It's basically back in the Stone Age. Yeah, it looks good, but, way to stroke your ego, buddy. And so awesome. A lot of this comes down to, when we're talking about copywriting and the psychological triggers and stuff, it's like, a lot of people are like, what's my market? How do I figure this out? How do I figure this out? It's like, no, you decide. You decide which kind of group you want, because in all markets, there's all types of groups. You go into real estate investors, it's like, are there not groups of people who want Ferraris? Of course. Are there not groups of people who want Teslas? Are there not intellectual people, and are there not power and wealth people? And so you get to kind of choose who you want to go for. That's the fallacy. There is no market in this day and age. Internet, there's no fucking market. We're global. All markets exist. It's your choice.
Wow. And that's why you said earlier, clarity is that power. When you have the clarity of what you want, of who you want to talk to, who you want to speak to, like, that's when you can, like, you have them in mind. You, like, literally energetically are aligned with them, and you speak to them, you know them, you could close your eyes, you could freaking see them. And that's when you're so polarizing, and you, like, speak to their fears. You freaking throw those daggers in, because you know who you're speaking to, and it gets them to buy, and it gets them to, like, really have the transformation that is in their highest and best good.
Yeah, damn, you're well spoken. Did you go to like poetry school or something?
Toastmasters, baby.
There you go. I've yet to do Toastmasters, man. I want to.
Dude, it's freaking awesome.
So here's another thing. This is another secret that I haven't heard anybody talk about this. So, like, I'm happy to be bringing this type of shit to people. So,
dude, hold on. Everybody, you better freaking send Mitch a text message right now, a Facebook message, an email. Send it on everything. Send the jets.
Send me the new Eminem album. Let's go. Awesome. Dude, actually, as an aside, that's where I get a lot of my copywriting from, is Eminem. From people who are so good at spoken word, wordplay, metaphors, because one of the greatest assets I have as a copywriter is metaphors. Because if you're trying to get somebody to understand something they don't understand, like, you're trying to get them to believe something new or understand something new, the only way that people quickly or at all maybe, can understand something new is to have it relate to something they already know. And then what's better to do that than analogies and metaphors that are on point? And who's better at metaphors and analogies than someone like Eminem? So,
dude, it's gold.
So check this out. This is like, in copywriting, they say market sophistication, you really got to keep that in check. Now, many of you guys probably haven't heard of that, but is the late, great Eugene Schwartz, one of the best copywriters of all time, said in a market, there's different stages of market sophistication, and you have to write to which one they're in, or else you'll fuck up. So, for example, back in the day, if you were on a radio station doing commercials in America, when that's before the internets, you had the radio, and let's say that you were selling oil changes for your vehicle, and you do like some oil change commercial on the radio. Well, listen, if you're the first person to do an oil change commercial on the radio, you get all the business just by being the first one. But now if there's a second one, all of a sudden now like you guys are competing. So now you guys will start competing in commercials for, mine's better because, this, you compete by price or something. And then maybe a third guy comes in, and then you guys got to start competing. Well, my oil comes with a free tune-up, and then like my oil now has this other additive. And then it gets so convoluted, the more competition, the more people, the more the market is sophisticated, the more that they're jaded, the more that they understand the different offers and stuff, which means the more you have to step your game up. So for example, if taking this oil change example, if they did that for 5 years and there's all these competition and all this crazy shit going on, they're all competing over this stuff, and then you decide to come in and do like what they did at the very first thing, be like, hello, I have oil changes, it's very good, and you're gonna love it for your car. It's like, dude, you missed the boat. Like, dude, you got to compete. Like, we're already talking about like super filtration, triple filtration systems and all this shit. It's like you can't compete because the market is too sophisticated and it's gone too far for your thing. Now, that is a huge thing, because in business and copywriting, that metaphor extends out to everything that we do, and you got to know where your market is and what stage they're at in order to compete. Because a lot of people do that; they come in and so that's a very well known concept in copywriting, that you need to find out what level of market sophistication. There's like 5 different levels based on things. What level of market sophistication your market's in, so that you can accurately speak in the context of what's relevant and current for today and all that. Now, the thing that nobody ever teaches, and the thing that I figured out, I believe I figured out, I mean, I could be fucking wrong here, but it's just logic and clarity to me, is that because we're global now, because we're not just on the radio in one fucking station, because we're global, I believe that choosing looking for what sophistication level your market is in, is you'll never find it, because you'll get too many mixed signals. Because the truth is, all of them are there all the time. It's like, in my industry, is there not people who have been in the business game for 10 years and know almost everything on earth? You try to sell them a course, you have to be like, dude, I know you've heard it all, I know you've seen it all, but trust me, this is different. Yeah. And is there not also people who just came onto the business world today online who are saying, I don't know what a fucking Frank Kern is. I don't know what any of this is.
What's Facebook?
they're like, I don't even know what marketing is. So it's like, you would never talk to that guy and be like, hey man, I know you've heard and seen it all. I know you've watched Jay Abraham's programs. So it's like, you would never talk to that guy like that, because his sophistication is virtually non-existent, whereas you would talk like that to a guy who's been in the game for 20 years. So it's like, the question isn't, this is the game changer in my opinion, because this copywriters fucking I can't find the sophistication. It's because, again, it comes back to what I said before, you get to choose now. We're global. So it's like, it's not about what sophistication level the market's in. It says, what sophistication level do you want to play in and speak to? And you get to choose. So we're global now. So the whole point of copywriting market research is you now get to choose it all, because it's all there right now.
Dude, this is freaking gold. And you know what you're also saying, I see you're over in Asia, right? What country are you in?
Thailand right now.
Thailand. Dude, that's freaking badass, number 1. Love it. And 2, like, you have the ability to penetrate, like, to see such a high level, like with Thailand, with all of those Asian countries and marketing and everything that you've known from, North America and all the principles that you've learned, and to bring them over there. And you have like such a freaking advantage over all those people. We can market United States, wherever, we can market to these other countries and speak to them like with such a like advanced knowledge of what they are going to be up against, what they're going to be facing, etc. Because like United States or North America or whatever is usually 5, 10, 20, 30 years ahead in terms of the principles and stuff that we're using and like mindset. So like that's freaking awesome. Did you choose to go to Thailand so that you could be advanced and be the elite?
No, man, no. Actually, I just went because it was a cheap flight. Never been out of Canada before. It was like winter was coming up, and I was like, I got to get out of here. And so my buddy Rohan was like, my dad runs like this travel agency, like old school, like not online. And he's like, hey man, I got like, I think it was like $500 for a trip to Bangkok. And I was like, from Canada? I was like, okay, let's go. Can't even get across Canada for $500. Because the airlines are so stingy in Canada. But like, yeah, so just went to Bangkok, and then I was just like, I can't leave, man. I can't leave. And I started to figure out certain things like that, like technologically, America is behind. Canada is behind. They think they're ahead. It's so crazy. It blows my mind. Asia they got Bitcoin ATMs all over the place. Like Asia is on point. Like the crazy thing about Bangkok, for example, is you'll see like the most like this like crazy gas station where it's all like robotic and stuff like that. And you're like, what the hell's going on? And then right beside it, you'll see like an old food cart and an old cobble built. So it's like, it's the best of all worlds. So that's what's cool. But like, what I realize is Asia is so far ahead in almost every way, but except the poor countries like Cambodia, Vietnam, and stuff like that. But Thailand is not third world at all. And then you got Singapore, you got Malaysia, China, Taiwan. I mean, these places are whipping US and Canada's ass, and it blows my mind because it doesn't, from American news and media, you wouldn't think it, because there's such patriotism. You would have no idea. And so it blew my face off to see this stuff. And then I start to realize how they do marketing and how they're actually not behind in marketing. It's like they just do it differently. And China is a crazy example of this. For example, in China, you would never opt in to anything with your email. That's an unnecessary step, because it's like, what for? It's like, because the journey is like, in Western culture, it's like, this is what's nuts, is like we do like we search for things specifically, and then we go to the specific things to buy. So like we may go on a blog or on a website, and we'll like search for something, and then we'll like go on Amazon or something to buy it. Right.
We'll do like the research and then go somewhere else to buy it.
Yeah. And that's not what happens in Asia. In Asia, it's like, it's a seamless experience. It's like you'll be on Weibo or WeChat or something. You'll be watching some video, and then there will be the shoes that the guy's wearing in the video. You can just like click on it, and then they'll pop up in your app, and then you can just buy them, and then you press boom, and then you immediately just go to your house. Or like, so like it's a seamless experience that it's not janky. You don't have to opt in because everyone already has your email. It's like all this weird, like, I'm trying to really grasp it and understand. The U.S. is trying to implement it now. They're trying to go that way. I'm trying to figure it out. It's pretty crazy, but it's a whole different story there, because I believe, like, you see Asians, they come over to Canada or the U.S. to live, and they're depressed because nobody speaks to each other. There's no like huge markets. It's like it's not very social, as weird as that is. So in Asia, everyone's social and on social media, but they're all social with each other. It's a whole different experience. So it was complete accident. I don't know how. I didn't expect that to happen, but it really blew my mind, and I can see. But it means that you still want to teach all the universal principles that they don't understand. Like marketers here, they still don't understand just as much as the U.S. and Canada, the Western thing. Like the universal principles of marketing, psychology, persuasion, sales. They still miss the boat on all that.
Awesome, man. This is gold. I love it. I'm having fun. If you're having fun out there watching, you're a viewer, you're listening to the podcast, drop a comment below, say fun, F-U-N, or F-U. You can leave off the N if you want, but whatever. Have fun. Drop a comment. Let us know you're having fun, because this is a blast. And Mitch, dude, you're dropping.
How long have you been online already?
What, today?
Yeah.
Dude, this is we're going into hour 11 after you, 11 out of 12.
Come on. And you're still fired up like this?
Let's go, baby.
What the hell, man? That's amazing.
I'm part cyborg, you know.
Yeah, you're like Elon Musk. You're like a reptile from the Illuminati or something. Wow.
Dude. So let's keep diving in, man. This is gold. What else do you got? We got probably time for another one or two really good, solid ones for our audience to make the difference with them, man.
Okay. Here's a big one. This is a really big one, actually. So they say, you always got to be weary when they say, who the fuck is this? But they say that there's 3 reasons that somebody wouldn't buy your product or service. 3 main reasons, or 3 only. I don't know what they say. Number 1, they don't like or trust you. Number 2, they don't want the damn thing. Like, they're just not interested in the product. Or number 3, they don't have the money. And the first one, I don't like you or don't trust you. I don't believe you. It's all the same thing. Like, I don't, in essence, I don't believe.
Rapport is not there.
Yeah. Now what I figured out, and this blew my mind again, was that I think there's a 4th one that might be more important than, because if you're getting in front of the right people, they already want it. So you can scratch that one out. Most people, it's they don't have the money. That's true some of the time, but most of the time it's not. Like for example, if their child was kidnapped, they'd come up with ransom money. Right. If I said to somebody, I said, hey, listen, there's a treasure map here, and there's $10 million in this treasure chest, but it's in whatever. It's here in Bangkok. Buried under a rock in the field outside of the city, and you got 36 hours to get here, but you're dead broke, you would have the fucking money.
Oh yeah.
So I don't believe that the money thing is really an issue ever. So that leaves one left. I don't trust you. I don't believe you. I don't like you. That whole thing. What I figured out is most people are will easily like you, trust you. Despite what a lot of people in this industry would say, people are very quick to judge, and that goes both ways. So people will trust real quick. So what I figured out, what is even a bigger thing, a bigger lever to this whole thing, is they don't believe, like, or trust themselves. Ooh. So in your copy, the more time you spend speaking about and trying to convince people to like, trust, and believe you, maybe, and my results have shown, that it works infinitely better if you can keep convincing them to like, believe, and trust in themselves enough to actually buy the product and believe that they'll follow through and use it. For example, a weight loss product, everyone's just like, I'm an expert, I'm this, I'm that, I can teach you this, my method, my process. It's like, man, they fucking believe that the second you said it. Because they want it so bad, they'll fucking project their shit onto you. They want it so bad. But you're not helping them fucking believe in themselves enough to actually believe that this will be the one that they follow through on, because they don't want to disappoint themselves and let themselves down, because that's worse than almost anything. Because the hope is more important than almost anything. So most people in their copy, stop making it all about you, because it's never about you. Marketing is not about you, and they know that. So stop trying to convince everybody that you're so perfect for them, when you should just convince them that they're actually worthy enough to buy the product from you.
Wow. Dude, I love it. I love it. This is gold. So specifically, how can we language this? How can we address them? What portion of copy would we spend, I know we want to say as much, get as little as possible, say as little as possible, but create as big as possible of a desire, right, with as little as possible words. So how much do we actually spend on that, and what does that look like in our copy, in our persuasion, in our communication?
So one neat trick to do it is to talk about your own story, if it's real, if it's relevant, or talk about somebody else's story, and put all those things in there, basically, say, I feel like I tried everything. Nothing ever worked for me, and because of that, I kept feeling more hopeless and deflated, and I really wanted to keep the hope alive, but everything I did, it's like I believe that most diets work, but I know that I don't. I know that I never stick to them. I know that and you just parrot back those feelings onto yourself, and then say, hey, if you've ever felt that way, like, you're not alone. This is something we all struggle with. And, I thought that I would never be able to do this, but this was the one time that I was finally able to. And, you can change your life in a moment. Your life does change in a moment. Every time you make a firm decision, that's when and listen, I don't care how many times you let yourself down. You can always decide now that now is the time. And so what you're doing is it won't, when you get them to buy, here's another unfortunate truth, is that when you get them to buy, most of the time they still won't follow through. We hope they will, but the truth is people don't. But what you're doing is you're pumping them up enough to open a window where they'll temporarily believe in themselves enough to purchase. And then you just hope to God that, they take action on it. It's not your responsibility to, unfortunately, you'll kill yourself trying to do that. But you set them up for success. You do the best you can. But really what it is you're having them temporarily suspend their disbelief enough to open up a window in which that they will temporarily believe themselves to purchase, and then you hope for the best after that. That they'll take action. So that's the way that I like to do it. If you have a personal story that is the same as your markets, then you take on all of that as yourself, so that they can listen and read without their defenses being put on. Because if in your copy you're always like too many people are too preachy, and they're like, so then you felt like this and you did this, and they're like, they're defensive. They're like they feel like they're being attacked. Right. Well, if you're talking about yourself, then they can listen to it and they'll take it on as their own without feeling attacked. So that's one way. And if you're not your market, then stories are always the best. So whether it's a story of someone else that you can talk about, a success story, a student or whatever. I know not all products and services are like, I'm talking about coaching. I'm talking about if you're selling information. I mean, if you're selling toilet paper or something, it's a little bit different story, and you don't necessarily have a fucking sales letter for that anyway.
Well, I think like commodity based items, like super cheap items that are competing on price, like story, people don't care about story. But if you're selling a premium item, then that's when people like start caring about like what was behind this, what was the journey that was involved to get this toilet paper roll, crossing through the Himalayan mountains to get to me, right? Like whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Or if the paper's made from like exactly like the prayers of Buddhists or monks, right, or something, right, blessed by them. But so what I'm saying is when we're talking about that kind of thing, people don't believe in themselves. Right. That's for like information or for products that require someone who wants to make a big change in their life. Right. But there are more simpler things, like for example, hearing aids. I mean, in America, 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every single day, literally having their birthday every day. And that's going to be for the next how many years? That's mind-blowing. So the hearing aids and anything to do with boomers aging is such a massive market, I couldn't even fathom. I can't even fathom. But for example, hearing aids, trying to sell that to people who need them has been proven difficult. And a lot of people are trying to sell it like, you'll be able to hear again. You'll be able to hear the birds whistle again and all of that. You'll be able to hear your grandkids and all that, speak and all that. And everyone misses the mark on what actually gets them to buy and the reason that they're actually buying. And so they sell them all these features, and how great will it be to hear again, or never have to how great will it be to be included in the conversations at dinner instead of feeling like you're lost or left out. That's getting closer. You can almost feel that, but it's not quite the mark. And so the clarity and the understanding is, hey, maybe they believe in themselves, right? That's maybe not, you don't need to go down that road of, I know you don't believe in yourself to get your hearing back. It's like, it's just fucking hearing, right? So the real reason that the old people, like most of them, of course, and the generalities are not 100%, but the real hot button, the trigger, the reason why these people are going to buy the hearing aid is so that they don't get put into a retirement home. Because if they can't hear, then the family will assume that they're not trustworthy with the grandkids, that they are disabled, and not able to take care of themselves. And so their greatest fear that you can push on is that their greatest fear is going into a retirement home too early.
Yeah.
And that's why they'll buy the hearing aid. But no one ever talks about that type
being
of shit.
marked up as useless, right? Like your life's over. Like put them in a box, they're done.
Yeah, useless and put away in a home. That's the trigger. So
Dude.
you know, that's the whole thing. So
dude, freaking powerful, man. This is gold. This is gold. Dude, Mitch,
Yes,
I think we got time for one more. You got another juicy nugget for us, man. This is I don't want this to stop, dude. Say it ain't so. Say this hour does not stop.
Let me think, man. I'll give me 15 seconds here to think of something. Oh man. I'll just end by saying, when you're writing copy, because I want to put the whole urgency and scarcity thing to bed, you need to have an end. The offer has to end. Right. If it doesn't end on a specific date or time, then you're going to leave about half the sales on the table, and that means you're only going to help half the fucking people. So the whole idea is people do not take action unless they're forced to with deadlines. And you know, you can either play in that game or you can choose not to. But understanding that if you choose not to put deadlines on everything that you do, then you are choosing actively to have less customers, less money, and you're choosing to help less people.
Damn. Bro. Thank you. Thank you, Mitch. How do people stay connected with you? What do you want them to do next, brother?
Well, hey, you can find me on Facebook, Mitch Miller. That's where I post most of my content. We have there's so many different channels and so many different things going on, but that's the best way. That's like my blog. So that's where all my rants, my musings, all my stuff is. That's where you'll hear if we have events coming up, and that's kind of like my news. That's my news feed. That's basically where I am most of the time. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. You guys will get there. You'll see that. And you know, I'm sure I'll try to sell you some shit sooner than later. So,
wouldn't expect anything less.
yeah, exactly. But that's the plate. You just look me up on Facebook, and then you can follow me or whatever. And then I'll just start. You'll see what I post, and if it's valuable to you, then just see first, or just keep listening. And if it's not valuable to you, and you find me too obnoxious sometimes, then that's cool too. And you can just flip back over to Chris Burns.
Positive inspiration and rainbows and unicorns, and then Mitch is like, I'm gonna stick this knife in you.
If you want to hear it said elegantly, listen to Chris. If you want to hear it said like some hillbilly, then you just
I love it, dude. So what do you got going on in 2018, man? What big plans?
It's a big year, actually. Yeah. So we're starting off right. So we have a 5-day event here in Phuket, Thailand, called Project Persuasion. It's all about persuasion, copywriting, marketing, psychology, and really getting your stuff dialed in. That's 5 days. And then that next day, flying out to Texas. We're going to Austin for Internet Marketing Party. You're going to speak there at David Gonzalez's event. And then the day after that, there's another event, entrepreneur party or dinner or something in Austin. And then doing a meetup on the 10th. And then we have a paid workshop on the 17th. I haven't figured out what it's about yet. I think social media secrets, like positioning yourself on social media and making money organically from social media for your business. And then we're going to California for traffic and conversion with Ryan Dice, and then we're going to be going there. And then the rest of the year is we're going to be doing talks in universities in China. We're really going to hit up the Asian market and help them a lot there and stuff like that. And then other than that, you know, continuing with courses, books, and just I'm all about putting out good content that blows people's minds. So that's just what we're up to.
Dude, if this interview is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what you have to offer, which it is, dude, because we only have an hour, and you could spend weeks and months teaching people all that you know and helping them implement and integrate and, you know, really create what we're really capable of in our marketing, in our businesses. Dude, like this is just the beginning. For everyone listening, follow Mitch. Take the next step, have a conversation with him, you know, whatever it looks like. You said you're not doing one-on-one coaching, so like get to his workshops, get to his live events. Like that's how you get access to this dude. He puts out great content all the time, like feed off of it. grow, learn the secrets, learn learn how to go down that rabbit hole and stay protected, stay educated, stay in a way that you can win and help people with your superpowers.
Yeah, man.
Dude,
I love it. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on here, bro.
Absolutely, man. It's a freaking blast. I'm stoked for the future. We're definitely going to be meeting up and doing some awesome stuff together. I can feel it. And, bro, you have the best day ever. Rock it over in Thailand. And everyone, take action. Follow Mitch, and we'll see you soon, okay?
All right, take care. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, bro.